going on, fam? We back again today on C. Here's the thing: the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, it was a goofy movie with Will Smith, but we talking about it
You said
today
goofy.
from our
Heartfelt.
perspective.
It's heartfelt.
Heartfelt. It was goofy. I ain't no Will Smith fan. But anyway, that's another topic.
Another episode.
But what we're talking about today is again the pursuit of happiness, but a couple of different questions behind it. One would be, is it practical? Another, talk about, is the pursuit of happiness something that'll cause you more grief than the actual happiness? And then the last subject or last topic, subtopic of that is, what is happiness? So we'll start with, is it practical? For me, I think it is practical because it gives you a goal, something to attain. Mind you, it's something that you have to find your comfort level in. But again, I do feel like it's practical. So, Carl, in your opinion?
Yeah, practical is definitely, I would say yes, it is practical. And the reason why I say that is because, and I know we've talked about this before, but people are going to pursue their happy. People are always going to look for their happy place. Now, the practicality comes in is, what are you willing to do to get to that place? And almost like, how do you know when you are there? It's like happiness is not a destination, because I don't think that you can get to say, okay, this is what's going to make me happy. And then you get there and then you're happy for the rest of your life. It's an ongoing pursuit. So what are you willing to do to get to a happy place? For example, if you think that being a superstar singer is going to make you happy, are you willing to go into a studio with R. Kelly and when you're 14 years old and
I don't think that's
be
happiness.
mentored? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
He just went from 0 to 60.
No, I'm just, but I'm,
that's
you know,
happiness. I don't know how happy that ends up.
It was happy for him.
It was,
but-
but that's the kind of things when people say, "Oh, I just want to be happy." Well,
Pursuit of happiness.
What you're pursuing is one thing, but the practicality comes in is, what are you willing to do to get there?
So then could you say that, or would you say that the practicality is reality when you think about what you're willing to do? Because I think that to get to that point, you have to understand what your happiness is. And for me, it begins with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The pursuit of happiness is a journey,
Mm-hmm.
and then again, happiness means different things to different people,
Mhm.
so to you, is it practical? Do you think it's practical?
No, I don't think the pursuit of happiness is a practical idea or even something you generally just want to shoot for, because if you just wake up, say, I want to be happy today, what is that? It seems the most broadest thing you can ever say, right? If you just wake up, have a piece of bacon and sit there, is that happiness? If the house is clean for a day, is that happiness? If the house doesn't burn down, is that happiness? I don't think it's a practical thing, because the way I look at it, happiness is a emotional state, right? And emotions, like we all know, are fleeting.
So that's a good point. So let me ask then, is happiness temporary or is it permanent?
Temporary.
It's always temporary.
Well, to rebuttal back to that, are you happy 24/7?
It's a state, I think, because the way I see it is, a lot of my happiness is derived from my life's experiences and where I'm going, and I'm at a comfortable point in my life. So no, I don't think people are happy all of the time.
Yeah.
But the majority of time, if you're a happy person, then yes. And I think it's something that you exude. People that are close to you, they can tell when you're happy and when you're not happy. But I think that, when you look at the overall concept of happiness, that spectrum, it's somewhere in between temporary and permanent from my standpoint. Because like I said, at 54 years of age, 30 years ago, I was stressing. over just about everything,
Mhm.
which probably why I ain't got no hair now. But now I'm at a point where, my happiness is not only derived from the way I see myself, but the things that I surround myself
Mhm.
with. And I think that, quite honestly, a large part of being happy has to do with maturity and wisdom and your life's experiences that get you to that point. I don't expect anybody in their 20s to just, oh yeah, I'm happy. I know where I'm going. I know what I want to do. And, at that point,
Yeah.
if you are on that, I'd like to know what type of hallucinogen you taking.
Again, I don't have that one. So
Okay. So, you say it's not practical and it's temporary.
And to expand on that, let me ask you guys this. So we're talking about the pursuit of happiness. So what I think should be pursued is contentment, right? Because contentment is something that's more so attainable. Contentment can be related to finances, physical health, financial health, community, or even just your relationship with your wife, spouse, girlfriend, son, daughter, etc.
But can't that be a derivative of happiness? Contentment?
I think it goes the other way around. I think
Happiness is a derivative.
once you seek the contentment, you can find some joy and happiness through that.
When people say contentment, I equate that to complacency.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
So when people say, yeah, I've got this, I got a house, I got a car, got a wife, got a dog,
Mm-hmm.
got a kid, I'm content. Now, it may be that like I'm happy, I'm in a happy place, I'm good with my life,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be like I've attained these things and I don't have to really work to maintain them. So when you start talking about relationships, you got to still work to maintain a relationship.
Of course, yeah.
Or it's not going to be happy anymore, and
Nope.
you'll no longer be content.
Nope, not at
So,
all.
and I think that's when it goes back to when you say pursuing happiness, it's pursuing different avenues of maybe contentment.
Yeah, and
maybe,
again,
and I'm not going to say complacency, but maybe
yeah, I
just
get what
being
you're saying.
content
Yeah,
with, what you have. Jobs, a lot of people, like again, in our 20s, even in our 30s, I've had a lot of people that were like, oh, I'm going to be the CFO and I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, yada, yada, yada. And a lot of them have realized what that takes and that they really don't want that.
Yeah.
So again, they get to a level when they're in their late 40s and 50s where they say, you know what, I'm content right here. And it's not that they're complacent because they're still going to do the best they can at their job, but they know I really don't need that extra to be happy. I can be happy right here. So that level of contentment is one thing.
Yeah, and then you do see a little sliver of happiness in there. Like I think a couple episodes before we talked about the guy that's happy being a clerk at a grocery store, right? That's person A's level of contentment and person B's level of happiness. So I think that contentment is something more attainable to seek because contentment kind of comes in the state of now, right? I think happiness is kind of tied to over this period of time as well. So that's why I kind of say aim for that.
And to that point though, B, when you're looking at, contentment, to me, it's almost like a placeholder. Happiness is where you want to go to, but contentment is where you settle, where you say,
you
okay,
land.
this is where I'm at. I'm content.
Or is it your building blocks, maybe?
Well, but see, I think that comes back to, your definition of happiness versus the other person's, because I think one important aspect of happiness is knowing yourself.
Agreed.
And if you know yourself, then number one, you know what you're capable of. And number two, you know how you're going to you've got a plan. Because I think one of the things that we have to think about in the pursuit of happiness is one measure for me that stands out is, when you know yourself and you come to the point of being happy, because I think one of the major points of being happy is peace.
Oh, yeah. Agreed.
And some people might even call peace happiness. But I think, what you have to understand is while you may want to be the CFO, okay, well, if you get to middle management and you say, okay, you know what, this is cool, then you have to understand that end goal you may not get to. So it's almost like being a bit of a realist and understanding that I may not get the pie in the sky, but guess what? I'm gonna keep persevering.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when I find my happy place, that's it. I'm gonna stay in my lane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I think, you know, one of the things that people get caught up in the pursuit of happiness and seeing if it causes more grief in that pursuit.
Yeah.
Versus the actual happiness. And that in itself, to me, is a journey, because you're so laser focused on trying to be the CFO or whatever that you miss all the stuff on the peripheral.
Mm-hmm.
You miss your kids growing up.
Yep.
You miss building and sustaining a relationship, a strong relationship with yourself, you know, with God, with your spouse, your partner, whatever. So in that aspect, Carl, do you think that causes more grief than what it's worth when you're actually in the process of pursuing happiness?
If it becomes a selfish venture, absolutely. Because it can cause yourself grief and it can cause other people grief. And the reason I thought about, just thinking about, we go back to the founding of this country: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are inalienable rights for American citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about Black folks and other marginalized people in this country, they have been harmed by the majority's pursuit of happiness, because I'm going to pursue my happiness at all cost. It's going to sacrifice it at your expense, at you know, as Eugene said, just on a personal level, at the expense of your family, at the expense of your wife, at the expense of your neighbors, at the expense of your community. I want to be happy. And that pursuit, and I may never get there, but I'm pursuing it relentlessly. So when you start pursuing happiness at all costs, is it really happy? And it becomes a weight almost. You know, I gotta be happy. I gotta be happy. So for me to be happy, if I gotta move these people out the way, if I gotta cut this person off, I was told by somebody who I, you know, have respect for. Early in my marriage, I was doing a lot of things, and I was doing some, you know, had some business ventures and so forth. And they said, you know, you're doing good. You know, you're trying to do, you know, I see what you're doing, this, that, and the other. Keep pressing, keep doing it. Whatever you got to do, make it happen. Even if you got to, you know, if your wife ain't on board, you got to cut her off. And I'm going like,
Carl.
Cut her
Eugene
off,
said, "Wait,
like kill her?" Or,
well,
you know?
no, not kill her. not that.
That's the pursuit of happiness, though.
But some people go to that extreme. And I'm saying to myself, like, but this person wasn't happy with their life, but they were pursuing it.
And that comes back to, is this practical?
So it.
Now, and I just thought about this. Sorry to interrupt you,
No, you
Carl, but other people can push, society can push its idea of the pursuit of happiness on to us.
And I think
social media has played a tremendous role in what people think is the actual pursuit of happiness. You know, so I think that we have to stop and take a look at the influences that are around us, you know, because again, it continues to come back to what's your happiness all about? What's your level of happiness? Because for me, I mean, you know, we heard the same thing coming up. You know, you go to school, go to college, get a good job, get a family, take care of them. That's supposed to be the American dream. Okay. But what they don't tell you is you can go to school, but guess what? This white guy over here, you had a 3.3. He had a 2.5. His father knows somebody. He's going to get a higher paying job than you coming out of college. So then what does that do? That deflates you. Because you're like, wait a minute, I've been sold a bill of goods.
And you're going to train him.
Exactly. So, you know, you've been sold a bill of goods. So,
right.
So what do we do in that aspect? Because I think it's incumbent upon us as the OGs to impart wisdom into the generation coming up to say, hey, young brother, it's not going to be the way you think it's going to be. There are some things you're going to have to settle for. But at the same time, I think we all should continue to strive that you press forward. You press forward. And while you may be at some point at a nice pace, you jogging, you running, going toward that, you pursuing it, you pursuing the happiness, well, you may get an obstacle that comes up that's going to slow you down.
Yep.
But the one thing that you can never afford to do is stop. Because once you stop, the momentum it takes to get going again is harder than probably anything you ever imagined. So,
Mhm.
I really do think that when we're talking about the pursuit of happiness, take some time to stop and smell the roses while
Yeah.
you're in that pursuit.
Agreed.
It's important because, again, you'll look back and relationships will have been destroyed.
Mhm.
Your health may have fallen by the wayside because a lot of times people, they stress out over that. And,
Yeah.
that in and of itself can cause you some issues. So, I think that we, want to make sure that, we're letting everybody know that, it's real cause and effect to your pursuit, people.
Mhm.
Brandon, as you are in the midst of your pursuit of happiness,
Oh boy.
what is something that that you've learned, whether it be from your environment, a friend, a family member, versus the way you thought it was going to be as you started on your pursuit?
I gotta stop up front because I don't know if I'm pursuing happiness, but
You just existing, man.
there's happiness to elements I'm pursuing, right? So I achieve X goal, I am happy, but I just don't see me looking for the sunset of happiness. Now I'm not just saying I'm just sitting at the house,
So you still in
monotone.
the content phase?
No, I'm seeking
Okay.
that in a lot of things because
Okay.
I look at it, if I had to say what I'm pursuing right now is I'm pursuing to work harder, right? And I can tell you, if I tell it to somebody, that's not happy. That don't sound fun.
But
But
that's your happiness,
yes,
though, right?
exactly. So
Okay.
I can find some joy out of seeing the fruits of my labor or getting this project done, or I'm getting more income or whatever. There is happiness to that. But again, like I was telling Carl when I walked in, like, man, I worked 50 something hours. I'm a little tired. That's not happy. But the back end, the fruits of that does make me happy.
So do you ever feel like you have to defend yourself if you were to have that conversation with somebody, you're like, man, that ain't happiness? I mean, do you feel like you would have to defend what you're doing in your actual pursuit?
Yes or no? Because if somebody approached me like that, I'll ask them, okay, what is happiness then? And I'm pretty sure that's going to stall them right out the gate because they're going to go, But if they do have an answer, again, I can say, why are you pursuing just quote unquote happiness? Because we all got definitions of happiness. Because I can tell you mine will differ from person B. And like Carl was saying, your pursuit of happiness could be tyrannical, right?
Mhm.
And just destroy everything. Because look back history, I'm a big history buff. Hitler was on a pursuit of happiness, right?
Mhm.
Well, that's to your point about being selfish.
Oh yeah.
Mhm. So do you,
Take
it's
everybody
different avenues to look at this happiness. That's why I just keep it in my lane of I'm focused on working harder right now. So when I can pull off the gas, then I can sit back and maybe we can have a conversation. I'm happy, but I'm pretty sure once I do that and get to that point, I'm probably interested in the next venture. So the happiness comes of that, but it's not the, ultimate thing I'm looking at right now.
One thing I'll say and this is just me, but when Brandon talks about not being happy all the time, people who you perceive to be happy all the time annoy me because
I
we
know the
know
feeling.
you can't be happy it is emotional,
Mhm.
so you cannot be happy 24/7. And every time I see you, if you're smiling and you're joking and you're laughing and I'm just happy. Get away from me, because I can't.
I think about the cooking show, the Neelys.
Yeah. They laughing and joking and kissing and honey baby and all that stuff. Come to find out they wasn't even married for half the show.
And couldn't stand
Couldn't
each other.
stand each other. Come on
So
now.
cameras came
I
on.
don't trust that. I never have trusted.
Mhm.
And I know some people who are genuinely nice people
Mhm.
and they exude, but I know you're not happy and all the time. But it's like you have to put on this. And I don't want you to have
But
to.
that's what you see on social media.
And exactly, which is why I don't believe that, because I know people in real life
Mhm.
who I know that's not the case for.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be smile, you can be pleasant. I'm always going to be cordial to somebody. If I
Mhm.
feel like I'm in a way that I can't be cordial to somebody, I'll, just avoid social situations or just, hey, I can't kick it right now, whatever, rather than be rude to somebody. So I understand that part.
Yeah, fair.
But I'm not always going to be, hey, what's going on there? When I see people like that,
concerning to
It
say
is.
the least. Is very concerning.
Because I'm thinking you're gonna blow. Something gonna happen.
And
Yeah.
they on medication. One of them.
Or that, yeah, maybe that's it.
When we talk about people being happy and I think satisfaction kind of comes into play with that. And I found a Gallup poll and just throw out some numbers real quick. The first category was people that are very satisfied with their personal life. Now, back in 2002, 55% of Americans were very satisfied with personal life. 2012, it was 46%. 2020, 65% of the people polled were very satisfied with their personal
Interesting.
life. 2024, 47%. So what I took from this is in 2020, it was actually pre-COVID because, we
Had to be.
started. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. That's
So we
right
were on-
around.
we
they
were on a
shut
high.
down.
Oh, brother, couldn't tell me nothing. 65%? Now, that's very satisfied. Now, just plain satisfied, in 2002, 85% of folks were just satisfied. 2012, it was 78%. 2020, 90% satisfied. 2024, 78%. So the numbers, they almost mirror each other in terms of
Yeah, you got
very
it.
satisfied versus satisfied.
Yep.
So I would say that very satisfied would classify as happy. Satisfied, no offense, be content.
Mhm. Right.
Here,
So-
taken. Yeah.
But I look at this and I say that, it to our point, happiness is different things
Oh yeah.
to different people.
Mhm.
For me, happiness is being at one with myself, being comfortable with who I am,
Mm-hmm.
knowing what my capabilities are, and being able to say it's gonna be all right. Knowing that, I can't stress over everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm good with anything.
True. Yeah.
Because as life goes on, you understand, man, you stressing over stuff, especially things that are out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so I would ask, B, what's your definition of happiness?
Good question, man. Because I know you're gonna shoot down the content one. So let me come back to the playbook. Something else I learned to kind of dive back to that. So something I learned, it was I guess a concept, right, called the dimensions of wellness.
Mhm.
And you might be able to equate wellness to happiness. I don't know. That's to each person, but there are basically a handful of concepts built within that one. So if you rank yourself doing well in these areas, you've achieved wellness. So
So
this
are we
is-
talking physical wellness or
that's part of it. So
Okay.
the dimensions of wellness consist of how you're doing in these entities: your spiritual wellness, emotional wellness, occupational wellness, intellectual wellness, environmental wellness, financial wellness, social wellness, and physical wellness. So I actually have like a little chart of this in my phone I look at from time to time. Taking stock of those inventory items there. How are you doing here, and there? Because that's essentially your culmination of your life right there in those handful of things. So if you're doing bad in one area, it's going to trickle over to another area. For
okay?
instance,
So is this something that you came to on your own, or did somebody bring it to you?
nope, I learned this actually from my therapist about a year and a half ago, and that was a pretty awesome thing because we kind of talked about that. What am I seeking out in life? And that was something that came up, and that gave me a good understanding of, okay, this is stuff I kind of realized I was working at, but now to see it and apply it, it kind of came over to me. And again, it wasn't the happiness, but somebody could probably come in this room now and sit down. If you're well, you're happy, right? So I will leave that open to debate, but I also seek those that wellness state.
So it's almost like taking inventory of
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm doing well there, you can argue and say I'm happy, but again, I don't use that word a lot. I mean, if it's payday or something, I'm happy, or if it's my birthday, I'm happy, but
Okay. When
Yeah.
you have your first child, then you're gonna say, "Oh, I'm content."
oh no, come on now.
Little,
No.
little Brandon is here. I'm content.
No, you think I'm worried about the next one. No.
See,
But yeah, there's moments like that where you are gonna take joy and happiness in. Like my sister's wedding, I was happy there. I wasn't content saying, I needed
Your wedding.
yeah. So when I get married, that's happiness. But again, I view that as just another stepping stone in
You
my
can't
life.
say that's temporary.
Oh no, nope.
See, okay, you say it if you want to.
Nope. Well,
well,
in most scenarios, it
the wedding is temporary.
Yes.
the marriage.
The marriage, but even and you know, I know our wives will probably be looking, but you know, you're not happy all the time when you marry. You don't have to say nothing. I can just look.
You feel it
Yeah.
in your spirit. You just, Lord, Jesus.
you're not happy all the time.
Yeah, and that goes
And
all
that's
statuses.
and that's the emotional part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the practical part is you're committed to this person, and it's going to be a happy journey because it's always going to be. I mean, you want that journey to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think one of the keys to that too, Carl, is, that journey, it's happy because you have an opportunity to reflect back
Yes.
on where you were.
Mhm.
And to me, one of the tenets to being married and being in a successful marriage, again, not happy all the time. However, what I like to reflect back on is where I was pre-marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Carl, for you, where you were pre-marriage, Lord, that was, long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and I wasn't happy.
See, but I think too that, I look back because my wife she's my biggest supporter. And, that's something that is a part of being married and being happy.
Yeah.
Again, knowing yourself, but knowing that you're with a partner that's got your back.
Oh yeah.
Because even on the days where you may not be happy, she may be happy. And then she'll pull you up and all of a sudden you happy.
Yep. Smiles are contagious. So.
But when you see, there you go. I love it. Put it on the t-shirt.
Right.
It's the next branding for us.
Right.
That's new merch coming one day.
So you look back and you say, you know what? Okay. While I may not have been happy, this person has helped
Mhm.
me to get to, a happy stage.
Yeah.
And because it's a journey, it's not a race, it's not a sprint, it's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And again, part of being happiness and what happiness is to me is making better choices for myself.
Agreed.
Not being selfish, being selfless. That's a journey that it's challenging for me almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's a struggle and all that, but to give you a plus on that, there is happiness on the other end of that.
Yeah, death. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean beyond the
You say.
eliminating. That's way
So,
down the
what'd
road.
you say? I can
I'm-
rest. I can rest when I'm dead.
Yeah.
Say there's happiness on the side of crossing over the selflessness. Now, maybe 45 years later, you kick the bucket, but there's happiness there.
The people that, and I think that a lot of times, and just not in marriages, but in life in general, they're not willing to go through the journey. And they're just seeking the result of happiness. So like in a marriage in particular, you'll see a lot of people have a wedding, and you'll see how they're planning that wedding, and you'll see how into that wedding they are,
Mhm.
and their bridal parties and decorations and caterers, and you see how they're really sinking into that. And a lot of times I can look at those situations and say, that's not going to last, because they're putting a lot of emphasis on the wedding
Mm-hmm.
and not
things.
the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with, if you're pursuing a career, if you're pursuing a job, and it's like, I've seen people put a lot of emphasis on, I want that job. I want to get there. And they've networked with people, and they've gone around, and they finally get there, and they're not content, and they're not really happy.
Mm-hmm.
They find out, okay, I've achieved it, but now what's next? So instead of being happy along the journey of, even in that situation, I'm networking with people, I'm meeting new people, I'm learning new skills. That should make, hey, that's a
Mhm.
cool thing on my way to this goal that I've set for myself. That's the problem. I think a lot of times when people talk about the pursuit of happiness, they're looking at a particular goal and thinking once they reach that goal, they'll be happy. And that's not going to happen. It's like you have to enjoy
Yeah.
the process.
I remember Deion Sanders talked about his first Super Bowl
Mhm.
win. And he said he had put all his focus on getting the Super Bowl, get the Super Bowl. He say, and when they won the Super Bowl, he was in his hotel room later on that night. And he said all the happiness that he thought was going to come, it wasn't there. And he said he found himself sitting there saying, now what?
Mhm.
So, I think, to your point, Carl, that's an analogy.
Mhm.
Happiness is what you make it. But again, I
Exactly.
think too many times we get caught up in the materialism
Mhm.
of happiness, because I don't think it's, everything that I've wanted from a material standpoint, for the most part, I've attained it. But I
Mhm.
never looked at it to say that's happiness,
Oh yeah, exactly. And
and I don't take things for granted. And sometimes I think when you reach a certain level of peace and
Mhm.
happiness, for me, sometimes people misconstrue that as me not caring. Well, man, you don't look happy. Okay, that's your idea of happy. I'm
Right.
good.
Mhm.
If I wake up tomorrow and I don't have the material things I have today, I'm good.
Mhm.
Because again, it's what you make it, but at the same time, we have to learn to accept things for what they are. And everything's not going to always go our way. You can have goals and you can try, and attain those goals, and that's fine if
Mhm.
you reach them. But I think if we were to look back on things, goals that we set for ourselves and said, that's going to make me happy. To your point, you get it and you're like, oh,
Yeah, this
that's how I felt with my bachelor's degree. All that hard work, got the degree, gave it to my mother. I think she was happier than I was, because I'm sitting there like, okay, all righty. Now what I'm gonna do?
and see and I didn't go to my graduation for my bachelor's degree. And it was almost the same thing. My mother was like, why aren't you going? And to be honest, I'll say that I kind of feel bad because I robbed her of that, because she was more happy than I
Yeah,
was.
I understand. Yeah.
She had more, she was like, "Why you're not going?" And I'm like, "Nah, I finished it, and now I
It's
got to
done.
start. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
done. I
I
got to
gotta
go to
work
work.
tomorrow.
I got to go to work. Because in my mind, I'm thinking like that wasn't my goal to make me happy. It was
Mhm.
again, it was part of the journey to I want to get here.
Mhm.
Um, so there are a lot of things, like you said, to your point. People said the same thing to me. You don't look happy. You don't know. I'm not going, to put on those
Then you
song
gonna
and
look
dance show.
crazy.
Yeah, there
Right.
you go.
Like I said, I
Something
don't
wrong
like
with
that. I
them.
don't trust people that do that.
Yeah.
So I don't like, so I'm not going to do that. I can be happy sitting I can be happy, and Eugene and I had done this back when we didn't have no money. We can go to the mall and people watch. And
There you go, bro.
and that I'm just some of the best days of my life
Mhm.
talking about that Joker and this one over
Yep,
here. You
look
know
at
what I'm
that. Look at that.
saying?
Look at that.
So people have different levels of
Mhm.
happiness. When you talk about what does happiness mean to you, it kind of is one of those things where it's just like I don't have to um, stress. It's
Mhm.
really the absence of stress.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
life is gonna give you stress
Oh
no
yeah.
matter
No.
what.
Yep.
I talking about happiness and kids, for example, and I've shared this story before, where there are young adults that I know that have gone through and dedicated their adolescent years, college years, to doing what their parents wanted them to do.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the question I want to ask is, at any point, do you think that sometimes we as parents unconsciously push that happiness into our kids, not necessarily living vicariously through them, but a situation where we know, okay, these are the things that you have to do to set yourself up to be halfway successful when you get out there. So my question is, again, do you think parents sometimes unnecessarily push their happiness onto their kids, and then the kids end up going and doing what the parent wanted to do, but then they realize later on it's not really what I wanted to do?
Yeah, and I think you see that happen a lot. Whether, back in high school or college, you saw the prime real estate of that happening, right? And
Mhm.
it's back to what Carl was saying. You have this goal of getting here that has been established in combination with you and your parents. So, okay, I'm going to get this degree to be a doctor. So you got to go through the grueling process of prerequisites, med school, and you're not enjoying that, like you were saying with the other example. And then once you get your doctorate, bring it home to mom, and mom is like, "Oh my God, this is wonderful," but you set up that false almost pursuit of happiness, right?
Mhm.
You think mom told you you're going to be happy, you got your doctorate, and that's what you just bought into. You're young and you don't know nothing about college, so I'm just going to ride this out and do it. And then are you happy at the end of that?
But then do you do it because you know that's what they wanted, or do you stop it and say, well, no, I really didn't want to do this.
And
So
that
now
depends
essentially
on
you
the
got to
person.
start all
Yeah,
over.
That depends on the person, because there are going to be some people say, no, I don't want to do this. And then there are going to be some, like, you just see a lot of it. Like when I was sick a while ago, I was in the hospital. I was talking to my nurse. She said, "Oh, I'm a nurse, but my whole family is engineers, and my dad was mad because I decided to become a nurse." So that was that example right there. Brother, engineer, engineer. And then the one kid says, "No."
Now, what ethnic group was she?
That was Middle Eastern, and
Okay.
you know how that goes. So of course that goes without saying. But back to the general thing, I think you're setting up a false sense of happiness, because then you take the child that says, let's say, I want to be an astronaut, right? They go to college, do whatever they need to do for that, and there's happiness in that process, right? There's not contentment. There's not, oh, I'm just doing this because a mom said. So I think you need to set that up with yourself, because that might not come from the parent, because the parents will say, I know you can get paid this way, blah, blah, blah. So,
But think about how stressful that is.
yeah, there's no
to
happiness
kids,
there.
because I mean, coming up, my God, I had anxiety issues in
Mhm.
elementary, middle school, probably even high school. And it had nothing to do with my parents. It was more so of
Yeah,
the
it's
pressure I put on myself.
Yeah, it's a mental. Yeah.
So I think that, you have to be careful when you're talking about happiness and what happiness truly is,
Mhm.
and it could be something as simple as, just talking to the people around you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times kids coming up, they tend to stay to themselves, or they'll talk to their peers, and you know how that goes. But, I think you as parents, we know our kids, and to hear them say what they think happiness is as opposed to what we think it is, it's almost comical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that they have these pie in the sky dreams and stuff, and we're coming from a realistic standpoint.
Yep.
So I always want to ask you this question, though, B. Your degree is in mechanical engineering.
Yep.
So at what point did you decide that's what you wanted to do? Because quite honestly, you don't. I know we had people that went into engineering coming up, Carl.
Yeah.
How
Oh,
many actually stayed the course?
Yeah.
See?
I think I know 2 engineers.
Ken is engineer, ain't he? Larkins.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I say I know 2. Him and my cousin.
There's not a lot of us.
So how did you get to that point, though, man? I mean, because again, it's
Well,
not a field that we see people stay the course.
yeah, and again, I was very blessed in my situation. I had mentorship that were engineers and mentors that were in the industry that I am in now. So that was a huge role. I had glimpses of it. I had interest, but it was another thing where I think I was maybe 16, 17, and I could actually step into these offices, see these conversations of how it worked and how the business acclimated itself. And I could say, okay, this is something I want to do. So then going forward, I pursued that. There was happiness in pursuing that, maybe, but I enjoyed the process of,
So you never felt pressured, and you are happy with the decision that you made.
yeah, 100%, definitely. Yeah.
See, now that's something that we don't see a lot, because
No.
And again, it's a one-off situation. Not a lot of people had that opportunity to look at,
you right,
teenage
it's a one-off.
years.
We gonna start calling him Unicorn, because
Oh.
brother,
It's
It's a different scenario.
It's very rare that I've seen people who had an idea of what they wanted to do, and they did exactly what they wanted to do, and they were happy, with the decision. I always go back to, there's a story. Well, it's a story. The guy I knew in college, and this was a white guy. He was telling me about his brother. His brother always wanted to be an attorney. That's what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Got his undergrad, went to law school, got a job with a law firm in the Renaissance, downtown Detroit. Got an apartment in the Milliner Center across the street. He was doing contract law because, you start out, junior
Yeah, you
attorney,
gotta work your way up. Yeah.
He said he would walk across the, the little bridge to go to Renaissance Center, work all day, walk back home, go back to bed. And he did that probably like 6 days a week. He was extremely unhappy. quit his job as an attorney, and started a landscaping company. And he was extremely happy. So he did all of that, worked it, and I don't know how long he worked as an attorney, for a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years or something like that, before he realized this is not what I want to do. And was success. And like he said, he was making as much or more money
Mhm.
doing the landscaping as he was as an attorney. So he was successful.
Mhm.
But a lot of people looked at it from the outside like, what are you doing? You're throwing away your law degree to go cut grass.
And here's a big nuance of that when it comes to working like that, whether it's engineering, lawyers, whatever. I don't call it happiness per se, but certain fields you have to have a passion to do what you do. And if, for instance, I don't think he was passionate about law, sounds
Obviously.
like it. So if you're in that situation where you're working 6 days a week, long hours, I assume,
Mhm.
if you're not passionate about your work, it is going to mentally kill you. That's why he left and went to the landscaping. So I can work 50-something hour weeks and, oh yeah, I'm tired, but there's a passion. I care and I love what I do that keeps me
Passionate about
going.
engineering.
Yeah. I love making buildings and,
That's good.
Yeah. So that what keeps me away from the I got a 6-day work week, but I don't see myself up. I'm gonna throw in the towel. But I've got passion for what I do.
And that's something too. You're right, certain fields. My goddaughter, your daughter, Paige, had a conversation with her once, and I told her, I said, I was explaining to her that I was proud because she's in that group, Carl. She wanted to do what she wanted to do. She wanted to be an actress and
Mm-hmm.
tunnel vision. And that's something that you need if you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
be successful. Again, success doesn't happen when we want it to happen,
Nope.
but if you're focused and you're working towards that, at some point, that dam's going to break and
Mhm.
you're going to find a measure of success. So I applaud people like that. And I, again, I told her, I said, hey, because I didn't have the heart to go and do that. I fell into that career rut and here I am. So again, kudos to people that know that that's their happiness and they're going towards it. I think we have to continue to, encourage folks to,
Mhm.
go after your dreams. I recently saw an interview that Eddie Murphy did some years ago. And he said, if you have a dream and you go after it, don't have a backup plan. Because if you have a backup plan, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Mhm.
He said,
Agreed,
go
yeah.
for it. You put everything into that dream and focus on that. And, there's a measure of agreeance that I see within that.
same.
But, I think, I can't be realistic with that because, again, I wouldn't be setting myself, I don't think I'd be setting myself up. I'd just be like, okay, look.
Yeah, there's the fear of putting all your eggs in one basket,
Exactly.
which is very logical.
So the pursuit of happiness is just that, a pursuit. I applaud folks that are able to, go ahead and see it through. But life has twists and turns.
Oh, yeah,
And I think that we can definitely learn something from one another. And that's why one of the things I always like to fall back on is talking, to the folks around you.
Mhm.
It's fine to have your own ideas, but man, if I'm not sharing them, I can get feedback on it.
Yeah, how can
'cause
you
don't
learn?
want to. People don't want to derail you. If somebody knows that you got a pursuit of happiness you're going for, they don't want to derail you.
Mhm.
But if you're asking and you're having conversations with folks, you never know. Somebody might be able to put something in there. We had a conversation when you called me the other day. I never thought about that. And here it is. Wonderful idea. We're going to press forward on it.
Mhm.
So again, you're surrounding yourself with people that can help. As
I was going to say, I think one of the things too, though, we have to be careful of as people, as individuals, when we
Mhm.
have these dreams and these pursuits, if people do give you advice or give you, ask questions, I think this generation more than so anybody else, like, oh, they hating on me. They hating on my idea. They not giving me positive energy and all this kind of.
The
I'm
vibes
asking a
are off.
question because that question should spur something in you to say, well, I never
Mhm.
thought of that. Or, like you said, if you say, well, I want to pursue, I want to be an actor or actress or a musician or whatever. And I say, well, you play an instrument? Have you ever, what is your, oh, you hating on me. You hating on me. You don't want me to see you. I can't be around you. I'm asking a question. You know what I'm
You
saying?
don't know what
Because
a
I've
chord
seen
is, don't know what a
right.
bar is,
You know,
nothing.
or if you say, well,
Yeah.
I know somebody that kind of knows, that's kind of in that industry. Maybe you could talk to them. I ain't got to talk to nobody. They old fashioned. They not seeing my vision. And it's like sometimes people are, like you said, people are really, by and large, they don't want to hurt you. They want to help you.
Yeah.
And a lot of these questions and a lot of this, and I saw this teacher say this one time, and this was so great. He was like, I want people to stop saying, they said I could never do it. They said I wasn't gonna be about nothing. He was like, ain't nobody told you that. Ain't no teacher that went through all what they got to go through to get to school, to deal with these bad kids, to tell you in particular, you ain't gonna never be nothing.
I was always curious about
I've
those
never heard
speeches.
anybody tell me that.
Never.
Because I would have laughed at them.
And I always people say that, Facebook posts all the time, they said I wasn't gonna make it. Who is they? Ain't nobody told you that.
They are bad people.
Right. Who told you that? Don't say they. Put in there. Johnny Jones said I wasn't gonna never be
Tag
nothing.
'em.
I mean, yeah, tag them.
July 12th,
Don't tell me that. 'Cause it's like,
1985.
you do what you do to motivate yourself. If you think that everybody's a hater, if that's your
Yeah.
motivation, but that's not true. People really want to help you.
Yeah, exactly.
And by and large, yeah, they do.
Yeah, maybe we need to figure out who they is and go from there.
They is the most notorious, nefarious people on earth because they do everything.
And the crazy thing, you don't know who they is.
I still ain't met they.
And they ain't going to tell you who they are.
Right.
Unsolved mystery.
I think that overall, though, the pursuit of happiness is, subjective.
Yeah.
Because we have to get to know ourselves before we
Mhm.
can even start to say, I want to do this or this is going to make me happy, so on and so forth. And like I said before, the journey's not a race,
Oh no.
because you're not going to get there tomorrow. You're not going to get there next week. You might as well just strap up and be in for the long haul.
Yeah, it's a lifetime journey.
Exactly. Because you can't worry about what the next person's going to say. You have to persevere, keep moving forward, and I think as you learn who you are, you'll learn what your happiness is all about. I can't say that my happiness is your happiness or
Mhm.
vice versa. I think for us to truly be happy, we have to accept who we are, where we are in life, the people that we have around us, because a lot of times it's so much pressure, especially for the adolescents coming up now. They got all this pressure from their
Yeah.
peers. But to me, a lot of it is pressure they put on themselves. You
Yeah.
looking on social media and everybody's comparing themselves. Who wants to keep up with the Joneses?
Yeah,
'Cause
now that is
for
hyper
years,
evolved.
It's hyper.
Yeah,
evolved.
and you come out and you see whenever we're going through a neighborhood, you see these big houses and stuff like that. Years ago, I was like, wow, I'd like to live there. Now, when I see one of these large houses, first thing I'm thinking about
What's
is
your electric bill?
how much are your utilities?
How much is your
'Cause
electric
there is
bill?
no way
Was just
your
doing that
utility
last
bill
night.
is probably my car note.
I said that house got to have 2 furnaces in it.
Oh God.
I mean,
And then you see the people, a lot of times it might be one income.
Mhm.
Who wants to live like that? Because they struggling. But they this facade. You want to let everybody know. I stay in the Brookfield subdivision.
Yeah,
I stay
me
in
and my HOA.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing this. No, because nobody cares. You're the only one that cares.
Mhm.
And if that's your lot in life and that's your happiness, then have at it.
Take your 55 likes and
Because then for the other group, as soon as their husband lose their job, you're gonna see on the news he done chopped up everybody and buried them in the basement because he lost his
the
job.
pursuit of happiness has been derailed.
and then you say they were never happy. No.
Oh, there you go.
But
See?
I think that part of maturing also is, and we would say it all the time, you like it, I love it. But I think that is part of it as well. It's like if you see somebody in a big old house with 4 cars in the driveway and doing all that stuff, hey, if that's what you want,
More power to you.
more
Mhm.
power to you. I'm not, and I think that that's what social media and this generation has done a lot. Instead of comparing yourself to that person, like you said, Jen, you don't know what your level of happiness is.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have got to where you want to be, or even if you haven't, but if you know that you're pursuing it in the right way, I don't, to your point, I've seen houses, 7,500 square feet, and I'm thinking, who gonna clean that house?
Oh
Who
man.
gonna, you know, in Michigan, we have the extremes. We get really hot, we get really cold. So you know,
Yeah, that gas bill through the roof.
the gas bill's gonna be through the roof.
Then
And
electric.
then DTE in August, I'm gonna be paying about as much as the house note to
Oh,
try to keep the boy
Trading one
cool.
for the other.
You
yep.
know, if the house ain't convertible, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I can't try to say like, oh, you know, if I see somebody and they doing all this stuff, great, have me over. Y'all cooking?
Mhm.
You know, I want
That big
I'll
old
be
fridge
real
you got.
happy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'll be real happy
Bring
with
my
your
Tupperware.
happiness.
We gonna be all
Right.
right.
Uh-huh.
You know, I've seen people talking about, oh, they got, look at all them kids they got. And, you know, how they taking care of all them kids. That's not your kids.
Mm-mm.
If they want to have 100 children, God bless you.
Mhm.
You know, as long as
Yeah.
you're not asking me for no money. I can't, you know, you take care of your kids, I take care of mine.
Yeah, and an old adage to throw in all of that in the pursuit of happiness, comparison is a thief of joy. And I think
Very much
a
so.
lot of people nowadays forget that because you got the social media where you can sit down your phone and you can scroll and see this guy just got a house for 2,000 square feet. This guy just bought a new Mercedes Benz. You just bought this, that, and the other. This, that, and all this is going on.
You feeling
Well,
like crap
then-
because you got a 1985 Honda Civic sitting in
And
the
guess what? It
driveway.
could be paid for. You don't have a $760
running?
car note. You can put money in your 401k. And guess what? That could be happiness.
I love my Ford Focus.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I think again, this has been, a wonderful conversation because it's something that, a lot of times you hear about it, but people don't necessarily talk about it. It's almost, to me, it's one of those things that's it's unsaid. You
Yeah.
hear about it all the time and people have an idea of what they think pursuit of happiness would be, but
Mhm.
Again, nobody really knows because
True.
it's subjective. It's what you think.
Mhm.
Pursuit of happiness is. But again, Brandon, thank you for bringing up that point because, we don't want to compare ourselves to others because all that's going to do is make you feel bad.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's why I'm not on social media like that because I see no use for it, quite honestly. But at the end of the day, people, we want to do as I always say we want to do. We want to help. So and until next time, I just want to say stay prayerful, stay positive, stay patient, stay peaceful. See you guys next time.
There